The government is taking the Lagos State Judicial Panel seriously. Is the government taking the Lagos State Judicial Panel seriously? I'm asking this because one of the members of the panel had her accounts frozen for being an NSAS protester. And so the youth reps wanted to boycott it. And that's part of what we're going to be talking about in this hour. Today's big hard fact is that the Lagos State Judicial Panel of Inquiry is on recess until November 14th. So while the panel is taking a breather, let's talk about the last few things that happened there. Just like last week, the two F. Youngs have joined me to discuss this. First, we have the lawyer F. Young and Inibehe. Welcome back to Hard Facts.
Thank you.
And then we have the filmmaker F. Young Editi. Welcome back to Hard Facts.
Hi, Sandra.
Lagos, I want to hear from you as well. Do you think the panel will help Lagosians get justice? Inibehe, I'll start with you. You filed a request with the Lagos state government under the Freedom of Information Act to see the order setting up the state panel, the state judicial panel of inquiry. Has there been a response, Inibehe?
Yes, there has been. I received a formal correspondence from the government. They wrote to say they cannot comply with or they cannot grant the request because according to them, the Freedom of Information Act is not one of the laws of Lagos State and is not applicable to Lagos State. I find that excuse very strange, very curious, because the FOI Act is a federal legislation. And by the doctrine of governing the field, the federal laws are binding on states. So I do not understand the basis for this argument, except that they cited a decision of the Court of Appeal to say that Lagos State is not bound or that states are not bound to comply with the FOI. But I'm aware there is also a different decision by the same Court of Appeal to the fact that it is binding on them. What is important, however, is that if the government is really serious about the investigation, the question should not be whether the FOI is applicable to Lagos State or not. The question should be, what can we do to enhance public confidence in the panel of inquiry? What can we do to demonstrate good faith, to demonstrate commitment and seriousness on our part? With what the Lagos State government has done, it further raises questions on the integrity of this process. Because if you are saying that you will not make public or you will not release the instrument by which this panel was set up, it is an indirect way of telling me that it does not exist. Because if it exists, you shouldn't wait to be prompted. You shouldn't wait for a lawyer to apply, for somebody to apply before you make that instrument public. So since the governor has officially said he's not going to release the instrument, at least to me, my assumption is that there is no instrument.
Now we have
in the eyes of the law, no panel of inquiry has been set up.
Now we have had conflicting verdicts from different appeal courts over the applicability of the FOI Act, a federal act, to states. I want you to tell me what your understanding of that is as a lawyer. First of all, does the language of the FOIA state that it is applicable to state governments? And secondly, if so, does the Constitution put the issues the FOIA addresses on the exclusive or concurrent list?
As a matter of fact, archives and public records is under the exclusive list. So the federal government, the National Assembly, was perfectly in order in enacting the FOI Act.
I see.
That was the division in Martin Solo, the Speaker of Ondo State Assembly and another,
I see.
which was decided on the 27th day of March 2018. I'm also aware of the division in Edo Saka, the Dukwe or something, decided the same year by a different Court of Appeal division, by the Edo State Division, whereas the Martin Law case was decided by the Ondo State Division of the Court of Appeal. But like I did say, the issue is not the conflicting decision. The issue is the commitment of the Lagos State government to accountability and transparency. It is even absurd for someone to have to apply for the instrument. It ought to be published. From the first day the governor announced that he was setting up a panel, a judicial commission of inquiry, he should have published the instrument. Having not published the instrument, my inference is that it does not exist. So why is it so difficult for the instrument to be published? Or are they just wasting public funds? Are they just wasting our time? Because if no instrument has been made in line with the law as required under the Tribunals of Inquiry Law of Lagos State Section 1, the implication is that there is technically no commission of inquiry, except that instrument exists and they just choose to hide it. But this is why it should not be hidden. This is a panel that is supposed to also investigate what the governor described as the Lekki Toll Gate incident of 20 October 2020. Recall that earlier the panel was specifically set up to investigate such abuses.
That's right.
And you now subsequently said you have extended their jurisdiction. There has to be an instrument to that effect. Otherwise, the proceedings of the panel will be plagued by legality questions, and if they subsequently indict someone, the person simply needs to go to court to have the recommendation that the proceedings declare a nullity. So this is such a fundamental issue.
I see.
That is why I do not understand. I find the argument untenable. I find the response of the Lagos State government as a betrayal of public trust.
Okay. Aditi, let me come to you. You attended the last sitting of the panel. Aditi, by the way, is a filmmaker whose movies are available online. So if you have Netflix, you can watch Up North. If you have YouTube, you can watch the movie he has on YouTube. I'm trying to remember the name now. Fishbone, that's right. You can watch Fishbone. He worked on that movie in collaboration with the U.S. mission here in Nigeria. Aditi, you attended the last sitting of the panel, and that's where we found out that the youth representatives would be boycotting. How was it announced, and what were the specific reasons that were given?
At the day before, we had breaking news that the CBN the central bank has actually finally obtained a court order to block accounts of people they believe to have participated or led the protest. And we got in there on the day of the sitting, and the chair announced, obviously, immediately she got in that the panel would not be sitting on account of the non-attendance of the youth representatives,
right,
and gave us a reason. And it was shocking to some people, especially the army, who had already showed up. The major general from Division 82 was already seated, ready, and set up a PowerPoint thing on the screen.
Right.
And I've got to mention that it was the earliest the panel has sat since it began. The military were there on time.
Okay.
Unlike all the other days, I think one of the first comments I tended to make in my report was that the panel was never on time.
Yeah.
But on that day, the army came on time, way ahead of time, and the panel came out 20 minutes after 10, which is the earliest that they've come out. So that's how it played. And so on account of them not having a quorum, the sitting for that day was
postponed.
Adjourned till the 14th.
What was the reaction to other parties to the boycott? What did the panel itself say? What did the lawyers for the state government say?
They were disappointed, and the lawyers for the state government were wondering when they would be required to come back.
Okay.
I should note that 2 sittings before then, the Lekki Concession Company had asked for leave to go and start preparing to renovate the toll gate, which, of course, the next day the point became moot because the representative of one of the NSAS people, a group of NSAS people, had taken them to task and insisted that the video of the incident not just be played, but we need to see about 20 hours of
footage,
CCTV footage. So I doubt that the panel is able to, at this point, release the toll gate to the Lagos State government, to go renovate when the investigation has not been finished, and the investigation cannot be finished until the incident has been dealt with. And of course, I think the third thing there would be that it was, I guess, circumstantial, but I don't think the panel would have been able to deal with the Army's case without having first seen the video of the event And if the panel has decided to watch the video in full, and it's going to take days and days to do that, they have to finish that before they can even invite the army. So if the panel had gone ahead that day, it would have been kind of jumping the gun, because you can't really ascertain that fact or the facts of what happened on that day, the shooting, without having watched the video.
Okay, I'll come back to the army in a bit, but in Ibehe, we keep hearing about the freezing of these accounts of people who took donations to provide medical aid, legal aid, food for protesters. As a lawyer, what's your legal opinion about these accounts being frozen and the manner in which the CBN and the affected banks went about it?
Well, it is a shame that in this age and time, we continue to see government gambling with the destiny of the Nigerian people. The Central Bank of Nigeria is supposed to be the apex regulatory agency for financial institutions and so on. It is an agency that should be totally insulated from political control, from interference of the government. It ought to function in a non-partisan manner. But what the CBN has done in this case is basically to not only undermine the institutional independence of the CBN, but the CBN is being weaponized as a political tool by the government to which hunts people who dissent or people who disagree with the government. For me, this is unfortunate for the country. We should not have the central bank taking this kind of decision. The CBN is not a prosecutorial agency. It is not an investigative agency. So what is the basis for using the CBN to freeze accounts of people? We are all aware that just a few days ago, a report by Daily Trust shows that some Nigerians in the United Arab Emirates were convicted for sponsoring Boko Haram, sending funds to Nigeria for Boko Haram. How come that the entire CBN, the Financial Intelligence Unit, the EFCC and ICPC, the police, none of them could track or detect that money? So you see the point I am making. It is because as a country, our government tends to dwell on frivolity. We abandon the real things that we are supposed to do. But what is more worrisome is that you have a government that says it wants to investigate abuses, it wants to ensure that the demands of the protesters are met. And the same government that has set up panels of inquiry is now instigating these kind of repressive actions against protesters. You are freezing accounts of people because they exercise their constitutional rights. What this shows is that the government has not learned any lesson. The government has not appreciated the gravity of the NSAS protest. It's unfortunate that they have still choosing, to take young people for granted. And I must say...
okay, go ahead.
So I must clearly say that what this has done is that it has given justification to people who have been saying from the beginning that this is not a government that has credibility or a government that should be taken by its word, a government that should be trusted.
Okay. Now, under normal circumstances, since the federal government told Lagos to set up this panel and Lagos did, since they said protesters should represent themselves and protesters did, and now we have one of the representatives having her account frozen and we have the panel in jeopardy. Under normal circumstances in Ibehe, what should the Lagos state government be telling the CBN and the federal government? Because they could argue that they do not have control. The Lagos state government, that is, doesn't have control over the actions of the CBN. So what should they be telling the CBN and the federal government?
To the best of my knowledge, that argument would just be, an attempt to evade responsibility. It is true that CBN is a federal agency. It is also true that the CBN is not under the control of the Lagos state government. But that is dwelling on technicality. The meat of the matter, the substance of the matter, is that this protest, or at least for the youth representative whose account was frozen, she resides in Lagos State. The protest took place in Lagos State. So for the Lagos State government to say, we have no hand in this, like the Attorney General said, it only belittles the seriousness of the matter. The Lagos State government has a right to make representation to the federal government that you cannot do this, that this is intolerable, this is unacceptable.
Well,
so what have they done? Do not forget that Governor Sanwo-Olu has had meetings with the president to present reports to him to present photographs and whatever to the president. So why has he not equally gone to the president to complain that the action of the CBN is, an attempt to undermine the judicial panel of inquiry that they have set up?
Let me
I
come
do
to
not understand.
Let me come to Aditi. We're going to say something, Aditi.
I think that as far as we can see, the freezing of the accounts of the protesters by the CBN and the subsequent boycott of the panel by the young people makes even stronger the point of the young people during the protests. The government, not just the police, has constantly used its instruments of power to oppress, if I can use the word, young people. And here's an example. You have the protest happen, and the federal government says, "Oh, we are going to reform the police, and we have banned SARS or whatever." Now, the FG, since the massacre, has not said where they are with the details of such reforms. But we have seen videos of the SWAT already in training. And these young people you said you are reforming the police for have said they don't want the SWAT. There has not been any comprehensive plan for the reform of the police. The SARS officers were ordered back to Abuja. There's not been a report that one single SARS officer has reported to Abuja. What happens to that? Now, there's been sporadic reports of non-uniformed police personnel. I will not say that, but back on the road and doing exactly the things that the young people were protesting against. And of course, on the 21st of October, during the lockdown, there was carnage in the city, but also that we saw videos of police officers in uniform and accompanied by people we could obviously say or could guess were police officers because they were working with uniformed officers, shooting live rounds at civilians, young people, point blank, shooting them. We have the video where one walks up, shoots the kid, and the kid doesn't die. He takes a gun from another one, shoots that kid until the kid dies, and they pick up the bullet casings. We saw those, and we saw. It seems that the government at this point is not making any references to that. I mean, officers paid by taxpayers running amok in the city. There's not been any reference to that. But what the government does seem very interested in is in the violence that happened. And there's not been any reference to the fact that government vehicles, transit vehicles in Abuja and Lagos were seen transporting hoodlums to attack protesters. There's not been mention of these things. And it does seem that the government is more interested in punishing protests, which were very peaceful. It also seems like, we've heard Garba Shehu, a guy I know rather well, who says protesters must be held accountable for protesting, which is a fundamental constitutional right. And of course, all this us to question the sincerity of the government. You cannot trust the government that has banned SARS since 2015 every year, and at this point, so far, has done nothing.
Now, I have to talk to you about the army because I follow your tweets very closely. And you said that there was a lawyer who claimed to be representing NSAS, one barrister Ogunlana. Tell us how the panel came to recognize him.
That was interesting. Because on the first day of the panel, I saw a guy who obviously looked like a troublemaker. I saw this guy.
Someone's radio is on. I don't know who that is. Can a person turn it off a bit? Sorry.
I
Thank
don't
you.
own a radio.
Okay. So I'm guessing that's his radio. Thank you. Go ahead.
And so there was this guy who was there with a red sash that he was obviously there to be seen. And later on, his group had a protest against the constitution of the panel in itself, that the government had no right to put up the panel. But he appeared 2 sittings ago. I call him Mr. O. Mr. O appeared as representing NSAS protesters, to which the Lagos State government says, "Oh no, you cannot. NSAS protesters don't have a face, they don't have leaders, so they cannot be represented." And which is correct, absolutely correct. Except Mr. O seemed prepared. He had, people who identify themselves as NSAS protesters. And of course, legally, I guess, once you have people that you can identify, then they can be represented. So got himself to represent those people. And I guess it's based on the authority to represent the protesters that we were finally able to get some kind of representation for the people.
Right.
Because until that moment, it seemed the Lagos State government and the LCC were collaborating very closely. In fact, the questions that the state government were going to be asking the LCC were written down by the lawyer and handed over to LCC. And I saw this and took a picture of this of basically how the government basically wrote how you were supposed to respond to this. It was an expo. It was actually quite funny. It's on my Twitter.
Yes.
So I felt rather concerned that there was so much collaboration. The Lagos State government is a person of interest. I could call it Lagos State government a person. So the person of interest, the LCC is a person of interest. That they were collaborating. And of course, there was that big, huge conflict of interest because the LCC is 100% owned by the Lagos State government. So how can the Lagos State government be I don't know.
Speaking of the LCC now, you tweeted about how Mr. Ogunlana made the panel watch hours of video from the Lekki toll gate CCTV. Tell us what was seen so far in those videos, because you also said that you thought it would amount to jumping the gun if the army had been allowed to testify on Saturday, because you hadn't finished watching the videos yet. So tell us what was seen so far in those videos.
Okay, I think that was the most important thing to happen to the panel since it started sitting. One of the things so people kind of disagreed, including some lawyers, that we shouldn't be watching hours of video on the panel.
Right.
But I disagreed with the disagreeers, because I realized that since we got there and in the press declarations of the government is prepared at this moment to blame peaceful protesters who've been protesting for 11 days without incident for the destruction that happened in Lagos, in Jos, the looting that happened across the country, which I think is false. It's just using power to try to silence dissent. The reason is that, so back to the video.
Yeah.
When there's the LCC doesn't seem to have a video of the incident, or doesn't have enough of the incident. We haven't seen up to there, so we don't know yet. But if the government is prepared to blame the protesters who were peaceful for the destruction of at least the toll gate, and there's no video, it means that the only thing that can be done to defend against that by the protesters is to have character witness, that these people are not capable of doing that. When we don't have evidence or an alibi, you have to have a character witness. And what Mr. O in this case did by showing that long video is to show that for hours, from midnight to 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 3 a.m., these protesters were gathered there. The toll gate was intact. It was not looted, it was not destroyed, it was not burned, and the protest had been happening for 11 days. And so the question then is that it's not a question, he's trying to use that to establish the character of the protest, that there were peaceful on one hand, which is pretty smart, and that if these people had done that for 11 days and were there for 11 days and they were peaceful, then it is unlikely
that they became violent. All right, so we're going to take a quick break and come back to this. You're listening to Hard Facts Lagos. Please don't go away.
Every day, someone stands a chance to be a winner. Really? Yes. 50,000 naira every week on Just a Minute Game Show. Just call into any of our shows. The Morning Crossfire, What's Up Lagos, The Sunny Side, and Hard Facts. Answer as many questions as possible within 60 seconds and we'll be giving out 50,000 naira every week. Yes! 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 Winners will be announced on Hard Facts with Sandra Ezekwesili. Just a Minute, the game show for everyone on your number one station for talk. 99.3 Nigeria Info. Let's talk.
Are you a well-trained cleaner, babysitter, painter, or electrician, and you're looking for a part-time job to do and earn extra cash? Look no further, because it's simple and easy. All you have to do is download the SmartMate provider via your Google Play Store and get yourself registered.
SmartMate, your home assistant.
Uncle Dentist, what are cavities? And how does Colgate protect my teeth from cavities? Does it use Kung Fu?
No, dear. Most tooth pains are caused by tooth holes called cavities. When you brush daily with Colgate Maximum Cavity Protection, its expert formula locks natural calcium in our teeth and helps protect them from cavities.
It's time to upgrade to the world's most chosen toothpaste, Colgate, because Colgate locks calcium in.
Keeps cavities out!
Colgate is recommended by the Nigerian Dental Association.
You don't have to leave home without us again. Listen on the air and online. Just search Nigeria Info FM on the Apple app or Google Play Store and never miss a thing. Your number one station for talk. 99.3 Nigeria Info. Let's talk.
Mama Mina won't send money. Make Amina collect for school. Obina won't withdraw from your account. But you know carry in card. Hey, written then go use. Na Momo then go use. Na Momo agents then go use you. Sisi Ronke won't pay light bill. Plus Richard Go TV. Nishi for no go Miss Telemundo. Tamuno say she won't buy data for phone. Written then go use. Na Momo then go use. Na Momo agents then go use you.
Now, with your Momo agent, you fit send and receive money, plus to withdraw money for your bank account without card or data. You fit also buy airtime and data or pay any kind bill where you want. Just dial *223# to see the Momo agent when near you. Momo agent. Save, fast, no wahala.
Okay, guy, now final whistle with that dog.
That now how person we just cash out on top betking.com they shout oh, and you sef it be like by winning millions when you play online or when you waka enter any BetKing shop. Yes, pay out to cut. Oh, that's one a sharp something. Whether na weekday or whether na weekend or even for public holiday they full ground. No do yourself or visit betking.com. Make yourself start to the win today. BetKing, the playground for kings.
To Hard Facts with Sandra Ezekwesili.
Here we are, Lagos, and I've had on the show with me today a filmmaker and a lawyer. The filmmaker has been attending the Lagos State Judicial Panel of Inquiry since it began because, according to him, young people wanted to end police brutality and they were killed for it. And so, as a Nigerian, he felt it was his obligation to attend this public inquiry, by the way, and see for himself whether justice was going to end up being served. That's what he told me last week, Tuesday, when we had him on the show for the first time. My second guest is a lawyer, a human rights lawyer, Inibeheng Afyong, and he's helping us make sense of the legal parts of this Lagos State Judicial Panel of Inquiry. Before the break, Aditi was talking to us about what's on the footage from the LCC, and he explained the reason why a lawyer who claims to be representing NSAS protesters insisted that the panel will view the entire footage, because the lawyer was trying to establish that the protesters were indeed peaceful. Now, Inibege, tell us what's supposed to happen here. We've seen the Army's account of the 20th of October change or evolve over time, but this is the first time that the Army has spoken under oath. I'm going to come to Aditi in a bit so that he'll tell us what the Army did say, but what's your legal assessment of what the Army has had to say, Inibe?
Well, I know as a lawyer that when a witness gives contradictory evidence, when there is material contradiction in the testimony of witnesses, or a witness presents an account that is self-conflicting, usually the court does not pick and choose which to believe. The proper thing is to totally discard the entire testimony. What we have seen so far was anticipated, because in this country, unfortunately, very little attention is paid to institutional integrity and credibility. The military is supposed to represent the highest discipline, the highest ethical and moral value. The military is supposed to be a well-organized institution. So what we have seen in this case is a situation where the Army keeps changing its narrative, keep changing his account of what transpired. And that can only underscore one fact, which is that they are not being truthful. The Army cannot be seen as a witness of truth, having presented multiple conflicting accounts of what transpired. I am only hoping that in the final analysis, that the panel will arrive at the right decision. But beyond what the findings of the panel, my worry, and I will continue to say it, is whether ultimately the officers who took part in that carnage, in that abominable act of opening fire on peaceful protesters who were holding the national Nigerian flag and singing the national anthem, whether people will actually be held responsible, both directly and vicariously, which is why I will continue to say that this government should be watched very closely, because history teaches us, history advises us to deal with this government with a very long spoon, given the antecedent of the atrocity in Kaduna State, where over 340 members of the Islamic movement of Nigeria were gunned down and buried in shadow graves on a frivolous reason that they blocked the convoy of the Chief of Army Staff. Now, we now have a situation where the military started by saying that the entire, attempts to implicate them was fake news. They totally dismissed what happened. They subsequently said, we were invited, we only use blank bullets. They keep changing their story and their position on the matter. So I am hoping and waiting to see the extent to which they will cooperate with the panel. I am hoping to see the extent to which they will respond to questions under cross-examination. Let us wait and see what happens. But I doubt whether the current president has the political will to punish officers who were involved in this, because he is the commander-in-chief. If he says that this attack was not based on his order as the commander-in-chief, shouldn't he be interested in knowing who gave the order? On whose authority was the military deployed? There are now indications from the situation that the governor may not have been the one who directly ordered the army. The army has said, we were invited by the Lagos state government. So at the end of the day, I am hoping that the truth will come out and that people will be held accountable. But my expectations are very low as far as this government is concerned.
Aditi, tell us now what the army came to say at the last session. Was it an oral testimony? Was it a written submission? What did it say?
So the army came to deliver its response the day before, submitted it into the register.
I see.
And so the next day it was supposed to take oral testimony, which I believe would have been referred from the submissions it made the day before. That did not happen. So the Army did not have any oral testimony on Saturday. That was the last sitting of the panel. Now, we have seen press reports of what the Army did say and what the responses were, but as far as I am concerned, that response did not happen as a panel. So I cannot speculate as to what the Army will say until I hear the Army say it.
I see. Okay. All right then. Now, it seems like Ogunlana, Inibehe, this question is for you now. It seems like Ogunlana, by making the panel watch the full video, like Aditi said, he's trying to make the point that the toll gate protests were peaceful throughout the day and the evening of the 20th. But that would directly contradict the Army's testimony, because I talked about the Army's testimony on the Big Three today, and they claim that there was shooting and unrest at the toll gate before they arrived, wouldn't it?
Well, I will also be very cautious. I think we should have to wait to see what they are going to say in their testimony before the panel. But what I do know is that the protest at the Lekki toll gate was about one of the peaceful in the entire country. That particular spot, it has been established that they were totally peaceful. So for them to now say, that hoodlums had infiltrated the protesters, hoodlums were throwing stones at us, these are just funny excuses. What did you go there to do? I think that is the first question. What did you go there to do? They said, even when they were attacking us, we were giving them water. Come on, they are insulting our sensibility. Are you saying that you preempted? You just left your barracks, your military facility with guns, with water to go and give protesters water? Who are they talking to? Are they talking to kids? So this is the kind of the point I am making about the lack of institutional integrity. For them to say, we were giving them water. Did the protesters tell you they were thirsty? You are shooting people and you are giving them water. It doesn't make any sense to me. So the question is, what did they go there to do? At whose instance? Who invited them? So you cannot say you went to enforce curfew, because at the time the attack took place, there was no curfew in Lagos State. And in any event, why should it be the military that should enforce curfew? It doesn't make any sense to me. So as far as I am concerned, there was premeditation, there was clear intent to kill and attack people at the Lekki toll gate. That is my inference from what I have seen so far. That is my inference from the videos that I have seen, from the documentary evidence that are available. There was premeditation. They cannot say, we just reacted because they were attacking us. It doesn't make any sense. It's not plausible. So as far as I am concerned, the military will find it practically impossible to exonerate themselves from the tragedy at the Lekki toll gate. And do not forget that it was after that attack that we began to see the sort of violence that we witness across the country. So people must also, there has to be a policy of consequence. People must know that there is a price to pay for impunity. If we continue to live as a nation where anything goes, a nation where lives is worthless, come of it. People are being slaughtered, people are being killed every day, and there is no punishment. We just continue, wake up every day, and we continue to move on as if nothing has happened.
Lagos, if you just join...
This is an opportunity to stop that.
Yes, Lagos, if you just joined the show, you're listening to Hard Facts on 99.3 Nigeria Info. We're asking if the government is taking the Lagos State Judicial Panel seriously. Now, the reason I'm asking that question is because one of the members of the panel had her accounts frozen for being an NSAS protester. And so the youth reps on the panel in Lagos have boycotted sitting for future sessions. The Lagos State Judicial Panel of Inquiry adjourned until November 14th. And so we're going to take a look at what happens when they resume. Now, I've got, just like last week, two F. Youngs on the show today. They're not siblings. One of them is a lawyer. The other one is a filmmaker. Enibehe is the lawyer and Aditi F. Young is the filmmaker. And Aditi has been attending the public hearings because as a citizen of Nigeria, that is what you should do. You should attend these public hearings so that you can see for yourself what is happening and you can judge for yourself if justice is being meted out. Now, Aditi, A lot of lawyers seemed bored when they were watching the video from the Lekki Tollgate shooting. If you're watching on Facebook at the moment, we have footage for you where you can see some of the Lagos State government lawyers shopping online and watching YouTube videos on their devices. We're streaming live on Facebook, so go and see that video for yourself. Facebook is Nigeria Info 99.3. How long did those Tollgate videos play for, Edity?
Okay, so the video actually starts at midnight, and we watched it to past 4 a.m. So that's at least 4 hours of footage.
Okay, so 12 to 4 a.m. That's what you watched.
Yeah.
Amazing. Now, my final question for you, Inibehe. We have the controversy over the instrument that created the panel, the refusal of the FOI request, and we have a potential boycott because panel members are having their accounts frozen. In all of this, what's your assessment of the legal strength of this panel and of its likelihood to deliver justice? And what do you think should be done to strengthen it, Inibehe?
Well, the first thing to be done is to show to the public, to make it clear and obvious, to erase the fear that has been expressed, to ensure that the doubts that have been raised about the legality of this panel is, taken care of, that people are given reassurance that this is a panel that is properly set up. And the easiest way to do that is to publish the instrument of creation, the instrument under which this panel was set up. Until that is done, we will continue to, speculate and rely on conjectures. I also expect that the president will immediately, take responsibility for the subsequent action that has been taken, the arrest of protesters, the clampdown on protesters, the freezing of their accounts. This reckless executive decision should be immediately reversed. Because until this reversal is done, people will continue to doubt the sincerity of the government. It is as if you are invited to somebody to come for dialogue with handcuffs or pointing AK-47 at somebody and say, oh, let us settle. No, we cannot be bargaining. We cannot be negotiating at gunpoint. So the government should stop scapegoating. They should stop looking for who to hold responsible for their failure. We have seen clear evidence that, to some extent, the government aided the so-called hoodlums in unleashing violence on the protesters, whether directly or indirectly. The fact that the protesters were not even given protection, as required under Section 94 of the Electoral Act as amended in 2015, which required the police to ensure that protesters are protected. So the government had clearly failed in its responsibility. That is why they resorted to looking for a way to stop what was becoming or what was clearly a mass movement by young people across the country to demand for good governance. So these belated attempts to demonize young people, to hold them liable, to punish them for speaking out is not going to work. And I am, a little amazed that till now, they still haven't learned lesson. They still haven't realized that the Sorosoke generation is not a generation that will be intimidated by the brigandage, the cacophony of the government. So let them stop this hide and seek they are playing. It's not going to help the matters. It is only going to inflame emotions. It will only further justify why people should come out for another, round of mass protest.
Inibe Efyong is a lawyer and Aditi Efyong is a filmmaker. You can watch his film Up North on Netflix, and you can also watch Fishbone on YouTube. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for talking to us on Hard Facts.
Thank you,
Sandra.
All right, Lagos, let's talk. Let's hear from you. What do you think about the proceedings of the panel last week? What do you think about a panel member having her account frozen? What do you think about the state government declining to make available the order that created the panel? Do you think the panel will help Lagosians get justice? 0700 993 993 993. 0700 993 993 993. You can also send your thoughts to us via WhatsApp. WhatsApp is 080 959 75805. 080 959 75805. There's definitely Twitter for you at Nigeria Info FM, and of course you can Share your thoughts on Facebook, Nigeria Info 99.3. We're streaming on YouTube as well. Prince is in Ogba. Hello, Prince. Welcome.
Good evening, Sandra. How are you?
I'm very well.
Thank you very much for this job and trying to bring the information closer to the Nigerians. Now, this is my take. I've listened to the two panelists earlier. I want us to look at this from this angle. Okay. In Nigeria, anything that you are interested in, I am an administrator,
okay,
and there is what we call Nemos Judas Kaukaswa. Whatever you are interested in, and you sit over as a judge in it, do you think you are going to speak against yourself? These panels were set up in different states in Nigeria by the same government with a command from a leader. Who is going to speak against who? In a system like this, we find ourselves that the root is already rotten. Everybody wants to save their head and their children. Who is going to speak in favor of the masses? Secondly, the youth that are crying there, including myself, that this injustice is ongoing. I want us to forget what is called, I call them geopolitical sentiment and whatever regional division going on right now. Can we really come up with an idea to sink this current system with a simple hashtag that will revolutionize everything we want to see overnight without anybody disturbing us? The police can go on strike. I don't care. Because if it happens, nobody is an island. There's a saying in my place that no rain fall on a single man's house. Are you getting it?
I'm getting you, Prince.
We are all connected to this. But now, something is hitting us, and somebody somewhere is sitting over the case that they are interested in, and they want us to get justice. How will that be possible?
Good question, Prince. We've got Kenneth in Surah on the line. Hello, Kenneth.
Sandra, good evening.
Good evening. Welcome.
Yeah, I'm even surprised. I searched for your name among the 50 defendants on today's publication. I don't know if you've seen it.
I've seen it. I looked as well. My name wasn't there.
I searched for my name too. My name wasn't there. But then you can see how insincerity this government is. And it takes us right back into what happened during the Cancer River era. That's to show they are not really sincere. My people said you can't jump a tree of bones with your two legs. You can't tell me to come to the table to negotiate and you're freezing my account, you're holding me, you're arresting people. The same thing that led to the protest in the first place. We all know that the Lekki protest was very, very peaceful, was very free until that shooting. And the shooting triggered people from outside Lekki environment. For outside Lekki environment to start looting, and fine, the looting were bad. We all condemn it. Nobody's saying that. But government triggered it. And government should hold themselves responsible, not holding innocent people that are protesting responsible for the killing. This government is just not sincere. And I think the second wave of the protest, second wave of this protest is brewing. And we pray it doesn't get bad.
All right, Kenneth, thanks for calling. We've got Jesulokpe. Okay, I'm not sure. What's your name, sir?
Jesulokpe.
Jesulokpe. Wow, what does it mean? This is the first time I've ever come across this name.
Okay.
What does it mean?
It means Jesus deserves the glory.
Jesulokpe. I love it. Okay. Go ahead.
All right. See, the last caller said the government are interested, the state are interested in their case. Are they supposed to be sitting? You understand what I'm saying? On the panel, they are the people that are supposed to even stay far away from what happened. But they are the ones sitting. In fact, we are a joke, man. They think we are a joke, but I think there's going to be another protest, and this one won't be a peaceful one.
No, let's always advocate for peaceful protests.
You know why I'm saying that?
Why?
They are pushing us to the wall.
Hmm.
Now, see the person that is sitting down on that panel. You said the lady's account was freezed,
yes,
right?
Yes.
Okay, good. If they start doing this to all these peaceful protesters, you think as time goes on, they won't take laws into their hands?
Well, let's hope that people do not take laws into their hands.
But with the way they are going, if nothing is going to happen to those accounts, what do you think they will do?
Oh, sorry. I thought you were done. I'm so sorry. But yes, I mean, in everything we do, in everything we say, we have to ask that even if there's going to be another protest, people need to do it peacefully. Don't forget, of course, that here in Lagos, the police commissioner says protests are banned. Now, you can argue, of course, that, that's unconstitutional. It's an infringement on our constitutional rights. But the people that you should take that up with are people like Desmond Elliott and Macaulay and Obasa and Layode, your lawmakers who have allowed something unconstitutional to stand in their state. So those are the people you should call. You should visit their constituency office and you should say to them, why are you allowing the police in Lagos to ban protests? Now, the police, of course, is saying that the reason for that is that Lagos has suffered so much and Lagos needs to heal, which is very true. Lagos needs to recover, which is very true. But at the same time, there's also an argument to be made about the people's rights to assemble and protest. Now, of course, any of these things happening have to happen peacefully, because once you introduce violence, you've lost the people on the other side of the table. They don't want to listen. They will just use the violence as an excuse and not listen. That's why peaceful protests work. I think that's why the NSAS protests worked until it got attacked. Good evening, Sandra. Every youth rep in that panel should go home already because it's just a waste of time. BB from Ibafo says, I thought I heard about the Operation Crocodile Dance that kicked off the same day of the shooting at Lekki. If I heard right, who has ever questioned that operation? Keno says, Sandra, I laugh at those that hope to get justice from this panel. First of all, it was clear that Buhari had nothing to do with the shootings. He said he was waiting for more reports about the incident. The army finally said the Lagos state government sent them. How will the government set up a panel to expose themselves? How? Nothing will come out of this, Keno says. Lagos, let's do this again tomorrow. Thursday, I'll bring you Big Three, as always, Eyewitness at 4:30. And between 5 and 6, we'll talk about why exactly things are so expensive now. Food, so expensive now. Why? Tomorrow, 5 o'clock, let's do it. I'm Sandra Ezekwesili online, S. Ezekwesili everywhere, S. Ezekwesili on Twitter, on Instagram. Follow me, let's talk about more of these issues that I bring to you. Until tomorrow, those were your hard facts, Lagos. Good night.
It's okay. That is okay. It's okay. No, it's okay. Let me explain. It's okay. She.
On 99.3 Nigeria Info, your mic is always on. Let's talk.
More conversation, more talk, more right after this.
Uncle Dentist, what are cavities and how does Colgate protect my teeth from cavities? Does it use Kung Fu?
No, dear. Most tooth pains are caused by tooth holes called cavities. When you brush daily with Colgate Maximum Cavity Protection, its expert formula locks natural calcium in our teeth and helps protect them from cavities.
It's time to upgrade to the world's most chosen toothpaste, Colgate, because Colgate locks calcium in.
Keeps cavities out!
Colgate is recommended by the Nigerian Dental Association.
Every day, someone stands a chance to be a winner.
Really?
Yes. 50,000 naira every week on Just a Minute Game Show. Just call into any of our shows. The Morning Crossfire, What's Up Lagos, The Sunny Side, and Hard Facts. Answer as many questions as possible within 60 seconds and we'll be giving out 50,000 naira every week. Yes! 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 Winners will be announced on Hard Facts with Sandra Ezekwesili. Just a minute. The game show for everyone on your number one station for talk. 99.3 Nigeria Info. Let's talk.
Here is the list of excuses that will no longer be accepted.
Otajigbe, I beg, give me your hotspot. I want my data, but this one too much.
Please, could you put your Wi-Fi on? I'm out of data and the recharge card seller has closed.
Oh, I would have recharged though, but I can't find my wallet.
Please, I've got cramps and I can't get up. Can you share your hotspots?
Oh no! Don't know where my internet token is and I need to quickly buy data. Please, could you share your hotspot till I find it?
Hey, Jumbo, I will buy data, but that recharge card seller no dey ever get change. How good one?
Now there's really no excuse to ever be out of data with Glow Borrow Me Data. Dial *321# to borrow data now and pay later.
I beg, I will share your hotspot. This rain bahad. Make thunder no go fireman.
The largest data network, Glow, grandmasters of data.
Quick, not the magic word. You know what to do everything sharply. Quick service, quick bonus, I've been a quick payout every day on top Action Bet. Now why would you do data or as low as $1? If it was take your bet, it never finish you. Even as it yet itself, if you get quick payment of up to 40% on top of your ticket sales, whether you win or you lose. You think it's over? I say you never finish. You better get a quick commission, quick monthly bonus, and a plenty quickie. You see, Action Bet here, then they offer quick payout, sometimes over bonus, even when up to 4 games of the ticket don't card. Go www.actionbet.ng or make a great them on top 080-99777728. Action Bet. Win big.
Peace, our home. Oh, your peace, our goal. Everyone has a place they need to be. Everyone has a face they need to see. When you go away, you love to fly, and we fly you safely through the sky. Tickets affordable, city comfortable, we very reliable, we care for you. At peace, our home. Oh, if you're gonna
For bookings and more, visit our website today on www.flyairpeace.com.
99.3 Nigeria Info, your number one station for talk. Let's talk.
You are listening to your number one station for talk.
Your number one station for talk.
99.3 Nigeria Info. Let's talk.